How's it going, everyone? We've been covering the holiday sale a lot. Here is a compilation of the deals videos we have uploaded thus far. It seems like you guys enjoy this, to have all the content in one place. If you want to check out each individual video, they are uploaded as well. But a lengthy video takes quite a while to render, process, and all that good stuff. But yeah, check it out for yourself. Enjoy the deals, guys, and there's more videos to come, so be on the lookout. I just figured we uploaded enough, so let's do this first. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to ask you guys, please like this video and do leave a comment with your thoughts. It really does help out the channel a lot, and it is much appreciated. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is running its awesome holiday sale right now. Really a stacked sale top to bottom. We've done a lot of coverage. We did games under 10, under 5, under 4. Go check those videos out. Now it's time to expand the budget a little bit. We're looking at games under the price of $20. So a lot of good stuff at under $20, and yeah, definitely a lot of variety in the content. And this is again with all of the deals running right now. Just scratching the surface, if you can even say it's scratching the surface. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to ask you guys, please like this video and do leave a comment with your thoughts. It really does help out the channel a lot, and it is much appreciated. But let's get right into it. We've got Ghostwire Tokyo, which is 67% off for $19.79. By the way, I am going to mention games that are available on Plus Extra, Ghostwire Tokyo being one of them. If you want to play them on Plus Extra, by all means do that. Seems like a lot of you guys are unsubscribing and you don't want to go the subscription route, especially after the price hike. Nonetheless, Ghostwire Tokyo, again, $19.79. Really enjoyed this game. We actually did a full review of this game back in March of last year, and I had a good time with it. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But it gets a lot of things right. The atmosphere is great. The sound direction is great. I thought the combat was pretty cool with the different elemental abilities. The story starts off incredibly compelling, and then the second half is just, it just feels, the pacing went all over the place, and it ends very abruptly. Really disappointed by the latter half of the game, narratively speaking. But overall, I would still say it's a good game. They did add a Spider's Thread update that added some more content. Actually, a new gameplay mode was added as well, so that was pretty cool. And on top of that, decent bit of content here. Like, actually, when I played this game, I was kind of surprised by how much content it has. It was done by Tango Gameworks, the guys that did Evil Within, and I was surprised by just how much content it had. Now, bear in mind, the side content is pretty average, so that's a little unfortunate. And if you go through the main story, you can beat this game fairly quickly, so keep that in mind as well. But I think at this price, sub 20 bucks, a pretty good pickup. Next up, we got Horizon Forbidden West. It is 50% off for the PS4 version for $19.99. Now, if I am correct, if you're on the PlayStation 5 console itself, they actually don't give you an option to buy the PS4 version of the game. It's really weird how they do it, because what happened was Horizon Forbidden West was a game that Sony was going to make you pay to upgrade. If you remember, the initial wave of PS4 and PS5 games were going to have free upgrades. Miles Morales had a free upgrade, and there were a couple other games that had a free upgrade. Forbidden West was supposed to have a free upgrade, then it got delayed, and Sony tried to be sneaky and be like, nah, it's going to be a paid upgrade, and then they went back on that and said the digital upgrade was going to be free. But for some reason, now the cross-gen version is $29.99, while the PS4 version is $19.99, but the PS4 version is listed as giving you a digital upgrade to the PS5 version. You guys following all that? Don't ask me why it is that way, but it is that way. So with that being said, if you go on the PlayStation Store on your web browser, on your mobile phone, you should be able to find the PS4 version. You should be able to get the digital upgrade to the PS5 version, because it's literally listed on the page. Digital upgrade to the PS5 version is included, and that should be the same as getting the cross-gen bundle. There you go with that. That rambling out of the way. Let's talk about Forbidden West as a game. I think it's awesome. I think from a visual standpoint, a significant step up from Zero Dawn. The world is gorgeous, a lot of content, side content is really well done. The main narrative, the main story is where I think Forbidden West has kind of lost it. We'll see where they go with this story, but I think most people agree. The second half of this game is a little wild for my liking. And we're talking about a game with a robo-dinosaur, so like, how wild do you gotta get for it to get a little bit wild for my liking? Yeah, pretty damn wild, and not in the good sense, in my opinion. Some people are of the mindset that, hey, the story's like really interesting and it's going in the right direction. I still found it rather engaging. It's just I don't agree with a lot of the directions, and I can go on a 1-hour rant about that. Nevertheless, the game itself is still worthwhile to go through. Obviously, play Zero Dawn first, and Burning Shores is out now, so if you do want to wait for the complete edition to go on sale, that's 60 bucks right now. Obviously, don't be spending 60, but I could see that going down to like 35 at some point, and Burning Shores itself is 20 bucks, so you know, maybe you want to wait for that, but if you want to play the base game, very much worth it at $19.99. Next up, we got Sifu. It is down to $13.99, done by Slowclap, the same studio that brought you Absolver. And Absolver, while it was a pretty unique and compelling game from a gameplay standpoint, it had a lot of issues. Sifu really seemed like the realization of Slowclap's potential, and I feel like they did a fantastic job. Now, this is a rage-inducing game. Like, you will damn near break a controller. It's one of those get-good kind of games, and, you know, it is what it is. It is incredibly rewarding, and I feel like the gameplay style creates a very addictive experience. Visual style is awesome as well. The guys also did a great job of keeping this game updated. It actually just got its final update recently, so, you know, added some stuff there. $13.99 for Sifu, think it's quite good. Would definitely check it out at that price point. Next up, Walking Dead, the Telltale Definitive Series, 60% off for $19.99. I mentioned Walking Dead Season 1, I think, yesterday in our under $4 video, but why not get the whole gamut of titles? This gets you Seasons 1 through 4, it gets you 400 Days and Michonne. 400 Days and Michonne are miniseries, Seasons 1 through 4, obviously, where the really great stuff is at. Season 1 and 2 at a very high level. I often say Season 1 is the best Telltale title ever released, alongside Wolf Among Us. Gotta give Wolf Among Us its due. Season 2 is great as well. Season 3 and 4, not as crazy about them. They're good, but Season 1 and 2, I feel like, set the bar so high that the latter seasons were not as good, but still very much worthwhile to go through. And yeah, definitely check it out. Obviously, these games are very much light on any action gameplay or anything like that. It's very much narrative-driven, but a lot of trophies, by the way. If you guys are, like, into trophies, my trophy days are somewhat behind me these days, but I still love getting that notification, and it's still something that is definitely a dopamine rush for me. But nonetheless, Walking Dead Telltale Definitive Series, $20. Pretty good price there. Next up, we got Tales of Arise, 50% off for $19.99. Obviously, Bandai Namco just dropped the expansion for the game, Beyond the Dawn, and the Beyond the Dawn edition is on sale for $45. Beyond the Dawn is a $30 expansion, so that's not a bad deal. To get the Beyond the Dawn edition, you'll get the base game and Beyond the Dawn. Beyond the Dawn's kind of interesting, but the base game is really where you want to start with, of course. You should complete the game before playing Beyond the Dawn, of course. But Tales of Arise is a really good game and an accessible point of entry for Tales of. Like, the Tales of games aren't connected to one another. It's like Final Fantasy, where a couple of them have, like, direct sequels, but Arise is really good because from a technical standpoint, it looks great. I think a lot of people can get into the narrative even if they aren't super into Japanese RPGs. Character designs are awesome. The characters themselves, like, Tales of has a track record for really, really strong cast of characters. So when you look at Tales of Abyss, Tales of Vesperia, like, those two games I think have standout characters as far as the roster goes and the playable characters. Arise I wouldn't put at that level. A likable cast of characters, but not at the level of some of the other titles, and certainly the main character isn't as compelling as Berseria's main character, but nonetheless, that's for the Tales of fans, and if you got all of what I was saying right there, probably already own Arise, but if you have yet to play it, it's a great action JRPG, would strongly recommend it. Next up, we got Hades, 40% off for $14.99. Now, truth be told, this isn't a game that I spent as much time as some of the absolute fiends for Hades spent. Like, I know people that have spent well over 100 hours on this game, and I'm not quite at that level, but it's a very, very engaging gameplay loop with an awesome art style, great presentation, and the gameplay adds a lot of replayability, and it's a very addictive style of play. Hades 2, obviously in development from Supergiant, and I'm sure that's going to turn out well. Supergiant is one of the most consistent game development studios on the planet, and Hades truly took them to another level. But if you look at them pre-Hades, Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, they were already putting out bangers. It's just Hades, I guess, was the banger of all bangers that took them to the next level, and now they're doing a direct sequel to this, and I'm sure that's going to turn out pretty well. But if you have yet to play Hades, $15 for that is great. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, 75% off for $14.99. Man, it seems like I always sing the praises of this game when I get a chance, but I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was awesome, and I think it's criminally underrated. It's so unfortunate that I feel like Eidos Interactive did a killer job with this game, and it just didn't resonate from a commercial standpoint. I'm not a big Marvel guy, but it's always interesting to me how some Marvel titles, like, absolutely pop off, like Spider-Man, and then you've got titles like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is, like, huge in the movie sense. Now, I don't follow Marvel like that, so maybe you guys can explain to me why Guardians of the Galaxy didn't pop off from a commercial standpoint, because from a game standpoint,
while it's not that open world adventure that Spider-Man is, it's an awesome single player action title. I think it's got a great soundtrack, a great story, and this was my first exposure to Guardians of the Galaxy, by the way, so I didn't watch the movies or anything like that. I just played this game and I was like, damn, this game's awesome. I know some people might be like, yo, you only play as Star-Lord and it's kind of whack, but you can utilize the abilities of the other heroes, and I just feel like it's a really well done game, and the interactions between the Guardians I thought was really well done. I just really dug Guardians of the Galaxy. It's unfortunate we're probably never going to get a sequel to this game, but you know, for $15, this is still great, and I would say go check that out. That's a really, really good buy. Next up, we got Red Dead Redemption 2, 67% off for $19.79. Look, Arthur Morgan's the GOAT. Let's just go through the usual things I say. Arthur Morgan's the GOAT. Red Dead Online is kind of memes, but the single-player campaign is great. Emotional story, great cast of characters, a ton of content. Wild West is a banger setting, so on and so forth. We need a PS5 upgrade. Let me get that in there. Maybe somebody at Rockstar or somebody that knows somebody at Rockstar can get them to freaking upgrade this game on PS5, because that's what this is missing. Bro, I'll pay $10 for the I should actually say that on video. I won't pay $10, Rockstar. Give me the free upgrade. $19.79 for Red Dead Redemption 2 is great. I imagine the majority of you guys have played it. It's fantastic, and again, Arthur Morgan's the GOAT. But yeah, nonetheless, sub $20 for RDR2 is a steal. Next up, we got Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition, 70% off for $14.99. Nice to see this finally get cheaper. It got its sale price appreciated after the PS5 upgrade came out, but you know, while it's not at the $9.99 it used to go for, $14.99 for a game at the level of Witcher 3 with Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, that's still a steal. Witcher 3 is an excellent open-world action RPG. Great visuals. The PS5 upgrade is really good, and, you know, being able to play that at higher frame rates, or depending on however you want to play it. Gameplay is good. I know some people aren't crazy about the gameplay of Witcher 3, but I think it's good, and I think the combat's really good. Story's obviously great, a lot of content, and the two expansions really do add a sizable amount to do, especially Blood and Wine, so definitely $15 here. A great buy there. Next up, I feel like this is a game that a lot of people are going to check out just because it kind of feels like a holiday style game, and that's Stray, 34% off for $19.79. Look, if you like have a family coming over and you have people that aren't super into video games, it seems like everybody loves cats these days, so it's like, pop open Stray, like start that game, and I guarantee you, you'll have like the moms that aren't super into video games or kids that aren't into video games, and they're gonna look at a game like this and be like, wow, it's so cute or whatever. And it's a well-made game. The atmosphere is great, the aesthetics are great, it's a shorter game, and it's wild that it's still holding up at $19.79, but this game crushed it from a sales standpoint, so you know, I guess they're gonna keep it at a high price point, but I think this game is gonna do really well. And if you want that game where you got family coming over and you want to pop in a game that they could probably be like, wow, you know, get like 15 minutes of entertainment out of, Stray's probably that. But the game itself is a really, really good atmospheric adventure. I would say check it out at under $20. Next up, we got Persona 4 Golden, 40% off for $11.99. Bro, it's Persona 4. Persona 4 is awesome. I played this on the PlayStation Vita when it came out. This was a legit PS Vita system seller for some people, and it was great. Soundtrack is awesome. I said in a previous video where I talked about this, I said I'll Face Myself is an awesome song, and somebody in the comments section told me, bro, you're so generic. I'll Face Myself is like not even like one of the best songs in Persona 4. Alright, bro, Heartbreak is good as well. Like, well, what do you want from me? I think I'll Face Myself is great, but story is really good, good cast of characters. It's Persona, bro. Persona 4 is really good, and a lot of people even like Persona 4 better than Persona 5. I don't know if I would go that far, but Persona 4 was damn good, and I have fond memories of playing it on the Vita. RIP PS Vita, one of the most underrated platforms of all time. Lastly, want to give a shout out to A Plague Tale Innocent, 70% off for $11.99. Another game that I constantly go to bat for. It is an awesome narrative-driven adventure. Great atmosphere, and what I liked about A Plague Tale Innocence is that a lot of story-driven games, it takes a little bit of time for it to build up and really hook you into the story. A Plague Tale, I feel like give it 30 to 45 minutes and boom, you're hooked right into it. It is a darker story. You know how Stray's the type of game that, you know, it's like the holiday spirit. It's such a cute game. Oh yeah, don't be open to A Plague Tale Innocence for Christmas. Like, get the family around and play through A Plague Tale Innocence. You'd be wildin' if you do some stuff like that, but it's awesome. Go play Innocence, go play Requiem, and hopefully Asabo is working on a third game because they got something here with A Plague Tale. You know, these days in the gaming world, it's hard to get new IPs to really pop off, but I'm happy that A Plague Tale, especially one from a really underrated studio like Asabo, and an unknown studio, I should say. An unknown studio like Asabo. They came out, they dropped Plague Tale, and they've been popping off with it. Requiem turned out great, Innocence was really good, and obviously play them sequentially, Innocence and then Requiem. But yeah, there you go. With that, $12 a great deal on that. But that is going to do it for me. Again, a lot of great PSN game deals under the price of $20, as always, and as I've been mentioning, really appreciate all of your guys' support and all of the likes, comments, everything like that. So that's going to do it for me. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store's holiday sale is going on right now. Just an absolutely loaded sale. We talked games under $5 yesterday. There's still a ton more to cover as far as games under $5, but I feel like the under $10 threshold is one video you guys are waiting for, and there is so much good stuff under $10, and again, scratching the surface here, so there's going to be a lot of content to cover. It's going to take us a little bit, but we got about 12 deals to go over in this video. Let's get right into it, and let's kick it off with the most insane deal that I've seen across this entire sale so far. It is not even close, and that is Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It is 90% off for $5.99. Look, I meme on BioWare a lot. I wasn't crazy about them teasing a new Mass Effect game that'll come out in 2032 back on N7 Day, but man, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, $5.99. This deal is insane. This showcases BioWare at their absolute height with Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3. Sure, Mass Effect 1 still shows its age. It shows its age, and they did what they could to try to get it up to speed, but it shows its age, but it's still a damn good game. Mass Effect 2, in my opinion, is one of the greatest video games ever created. It still holds up in that level, and it's a fantastic game. And Mass Effect 3, yes, everybody talks about the ending, but the game itself is still a really, really good playthrough. Look, $5.99 for this is great. Whether you played the Mass Effect games on PlayStation 3, which Mass Effect 1 was never even available on PlayStation 3, or you play them on other platforms, you just want to revisit them, or you're starting Mass Effect for the first time, because guess what? Mass Effect 1 came out all the way back in 2007. There's a new generation of gamers that are probably going to be into a style of game like Mass Effect. Man, the Legendary Edition is so good, and I fondly remember the days when, you know, a developer like BioWare would put out a game like Mass Effect in 2007, turn around and put out Mass Effect 2 in 2010, and then turn around and put out Mass Effect 3 in, I believe, 2012. Just the consistent releases, and you look at what BioWare is doing now, you know, 8 years in between games and all that good stuff. You know, I do fondly reminisce on the Mass Effect days, but those days are long gone, but I can happily relive them with the Legendary Edition. $5.99 is great. Check it out. Another EA title here, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, 85% off for $5.99. You guys know me. Jedi Survivor is a game that I rave about and talk about how it's in the mix for my game of the year. Jedi Fallen Order, I had some issues with. One of them I constantly go back to, but for the most part, it is a fantastic game. I love Cal as a main character, and you got to see his story and how he becomes a Jedi. And I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but Jedi Fallen Order was the game that got me more into Star Wars. And I even watched some of the prequel trilogy. I believe those are the ones I watched. Yeah, it's prequel trilogy, original trilogy, and then the new movies. Right. I'm not, yeah, as you guys can tell, I'm not big into the Star Wars lore like that, but Jedi Fallen Order was great. Jedi Survivor was great as well. But on Fallen Order, really good combat, gameplay's great, good level of exploration, runs great on the PlayStation 5 as well. So if you're playing it on the PS5, even better. Obviously, I constantly go back to the fact that the map design is absolutely atrocious. They do fix that up in Jedi Survivor, but man, in Fallen Order, it is an abomination, and you'll see that being a issue that a lot of people do go back to when you talk about Jedi Fallen Order, but still, the good outweighs the bad, and Fallen Order is certainly a game I would recommend. Next up, we got Metro Exodus Gold Edition, 80% off for $7.99. This will get you Metro Exodus with the DLC content. Metro Exodus is a really solid game, even though I do prefer Metro Last Light is my favorite, but Exodus is still a damn good single-player atmospheric first-person title with a solid narrative attached to it as well. I would definitely recommend it, especially with the Gold Edition. This is another game that on PlayStation 5 runs exceptionally well, so definitely play it on there if you do have a PS5. I imagine the majority of you do. If you have yet to play Metro 2033 or Metro Last Light, highly would recommend you to go the route of getting the Metro Saga bundle. You'll spend, what, an additional $4 on top of Metro Exodus's Gold Edition, and you'll get 2033 Redux and Last Light Redux. Those games are quite good. These games aren't super lengthy, but They've got great atmospheres, great settings, voice acting's good, story's good, and the tone of the game is really, really strong. Gameplay isn't blowaway, but it's fine, and for $7.99 here with Exodus Gold Edition, or, you know, $11.99 for the Saga Bundle, can't go wrong with that. Next up, we got the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition, 80% off for $7.99. Now, I imagine the majority of you own the Skyrim, but it's the holidays, why not give Skyrim a mention? It's been 12 years since this game has come out, and we still don't have Elder Scrolls 6, and damn it, Elder Scrolls 6 probably not going to be on PS6 or PS5, you know, whatever generation it corresponds with, but we'll have Skyrim, and I thought Skyrim was an awesome game. This is upgraded on PS5 as well, which is quite nice. Kind of wild to say it's upgraded on PS5 when this was initially a PS3 game. Kind of got that GTA 5 thing going on where they've released this on so many platforms. Skyrim's a classic in my opinion. Love the game. I still remember 11/11/11. The days leading up to the release of Skyrim were a special time, and I initially played Skyrim on the PlayStation 3, and if you played Skyrim on the PlayStation 3, you know how much of a train wreck that was, but yeah, a lot of those issues obviously alleviated with the PS4 and definitely the PS5 version. $8, great deal here. Next up, we got Borderlands: The Handsome Collection, another collection I constantly go to bat for, 75% off for $9.99. Borderlands, another, you know, a couple of games that I grew up with the early Borderlands title. Borderlands 1 came out in 2009, followed up by Borderlands 2 in 2012, and the pre-sequel in 2014. The Handsome Collection gets you Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, and Borderlands 2, in my opinion, is the absolute peak of Borderlands. That game just hit all of the good elements of Borderlands. I thought the comedy was good, gameplay was great, a lot of content, a lot of replayability, characters were solid. Just such a well-made game, and I know that Borderlands does have an emphasis on its cooperative play. However, I do think Borderlands is perfectly enjoyable solo as well. I've completed the game several times solo and several times cooperatively as well, and I've had a great time every time through, and I think ultimately people will still enjoy Borderlands solo. It's not like a game like Castle Crashers. That's a game I'm just like, yo, you gotta play that cooperatively. Borderlands, I don't think that's the case. By the way, if you don't have Borderlands 1, they do have the Borderlands Legendary Collection for $19.99. That'll get you Borderlands 1 remastered as well. So pretty good deal all around there for all that Borderlands content, but pre-sequel and Borderlands 2 with most of the game's respective DLC. I say most because there's one piece missing from Borderlands 2. It's not the biggest thing in the world, so it's not a big deal, but $9.99 for that is great. Next up, let's give Assassin's Creed some love, and you know, I gotta give my throwback Assassin's Creed the love. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Unity, all of those are $9 a pop. It is the base games of all of those. Black Flag, obviously tremendous. Rumblings about a remake, remaster, or remake probably, but yeah, Edward Kenway, one of the best characters in Assassin's Creed, and I even go as far as to say, I know everybody loves Ezio, but Edward's my boy, and I loved Edward as a main character. I feel like they could do a lot more with him, or they could have done a lot more with him, but hey, if they remake Black Flag, let's get more Edward, because I think he's a character they could do so much with, and Black Flag is so fantastic. Naval combat I enjoyed the ship element to the game, and it looks like they're parlaying that into its own, you know, franchise with Skull and Bones, but we don't talk about that right now. Black Flag was great. Obviously, Syndicate is a game that I think is criminally underrated, was the final game in the older style of Assassin's Creed titles, thought it was quite good. And then Unity was a game that was absolutely hated on when it initially came out, had a lot of technical issues, but a lot of people nowadays go back and play it and talk up Unity pretty big. I gotta go back and play through it again, but want to give that a mention as well at $9. All of these games are available on Plus Extra, but the Ubisoft games have been they have been getting cycled out of Plus Extra recently, so I would imagine that these games aren't going to be here for much longer, but if you want to play it that way, that is an option. Next up, we got Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition, 80% off for $7.99. This gets you Kingdom Come Deliverance along with the DLC content for $8. This is great. This was holding up at $9.99 for a while. Now it dipped even lower to $8. Historical RPG, more on the realistic side, tells a really good story. Not going to be for everybody, but I think for people that like the historical elements and want that out of an RPG, they'll really like Kingdom Come Deliverance as a whole. With the Royal Edition, with the bonus content, good value here as well. A lot of content, and a game that does not get enough love. I feel like more people should check it out. I know it's not like the style of RPG that is really going to resonate to a lot of console players, but I still think KCD is a game that a lot of people would be pleasantly surprised by. Again, if you do like like that aesthetics and the setting of the game, I think that is going to make you enjoy it a lot more. So $8 for that is great. Next up, we got Infamous Second Son, 50% off for $9.99. Obviously available on PlayStation Plus Extra. Love me some Infamous Second Son. Runs great on the PlayStation 5. You guys also know me, if you follow this channel, I love Infamous. Infamous is one of my favorite franchises, and it's a shame that it's another one of those franchises that's kind of been dormant. Obviously, Sucker Punch very much busy with Ghost of Tsushima these days, but Infamous 1 was great, Infamous 2 was really good, and Infamous Second Son, while I do think it was the weakest of the 3 mainline games, I don't think Delsin is at the level of Cole. You know, Delsin's still a likable character. I still thought Delsin was an alright character, and overall the game was really good. It was a game that I feel like could have used a little bit more development time, but I understand why they released it when they did, given that they had to get big PS4 exclusives out. The pressure was on them to do that. And Infamous Second Son came out in March of 2014, like 4 months after the release of the PS4, and it was like one of the big exclusives that was a console seller, and it did a good job in that. The main campaign, if you rush through it, it's fairly short. It does have a lot of optional content and things of that nature, but yeah, $10 for it, I think is great. Hopefully, like, by God, can we get an Infamous 1 and 2 collection? Can we get an Infamous 1 remake? Infamous 1 and 2, Ratchet & Clank Future, the 2 PlayStation 3 franchises that are absolutely getting lost, and without backwards compatibility, we have no way to preserve those games. Sony's got to do something about that, but nonetheless, my rant for now is over, but expect that rant to continue in future videos. Next up, we got South Park: The Stick of Truth, 75% off for $7.49. I'm not a big South Park guy. Watched a couple of the specials, found it humorous, but South Park: The Stick of Truth came out at a time where I had literally never watched an episode of South Park in my life, back in 2013. Since then, I've caught some stuff, but I tried it out, and it's honestly humorous how Obsidian took South Park and made it a fundamentally well-done RPG. Like, South Park is supposed to be comedy, but then when you play the game, the comedy is almost accentuated by the fact that it's funny, that it's mechanically a well-done RPG. Like, it's humorous seeing South Park executed in that way, and if you're a South Park fan, you're probably gonna really enjoy this game, and it's not super lengthy for an RPG, but the humor was definitely there, and again, as somebody that never watched South Park when I played this game, like, I was laughing at this game, and I thought it was great. $7.49, great pickup for it, and if you're a South Park fan, doubly so. You'll really like the game. And lastly, why not give a shout to Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD Remaster. 60% off for $9.99. Some rumblings about a potential remake of Final Fantasy X happening at some point. I could easily see that coming to fruition after the success of the FF7 remake. I think remakes of all the Final Fantasy games are on the table. But that's probably going to come out, you know, 2026, 2027. 2026, I believe, would be the 25th anniversary of the release, so that makes sense. But FF10's a great game. Shows its age, absolutely. Some of the voice acting, the laugh, that isn't the great, but I liked a lot of elements of the FF10. Story was really good. The Final Fantasy X battle theme is goated, and again, solid story. A Sphere Grid I thought was great. $9.99 for it is really good for this collection. And 10-2, I know people have their opinions on 10-2, but you get that on top of FF10, so think of it what you want. FF10 alone is easily worth the $9.99, and 10-2, whether or not you want to play it, I'll leave that up to you, but certainly play 10, it's quite good. But that will do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals as a part of this PlayStation Store holiday sale, just top to bottom. The under 5 was great, under 10 I would say is even better. That Mass Effect Legendary Edition sale, legitimately, I think you could make an argument that is the best PSN deal we have seen all year. The idea of getting the entire Mass Effect trilogy $2 a pop is insane and well worth it. Like, if you don't have the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect, that is highway robbery. I know I say that a lot these days about deals being highway robberies. That is legitimately highway robbery, and go grab that if you don't have it. Like, that is essential to have in your library. But nonetheless, that'll do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store has kicked off its massive holiday sale, and I think some people are going to be a little bit disappointed by the fact that, you know, some of the game deals maybe titles are a little bit too expensive. You don't want to spend $35 on AC Mirage. You don't want to spend $49 on MW3 for whatever reason if you're trying to pick that up. However, I feel like there's a lot of quantity and options in terms of the games available, and there's certainly stuff you can find. I want to highlight some of the deals under $5. Let's just get right into it, and let's start things off with Yakuza 0, 75% off for $4.99. The game was available on PlayStation Plus Extra a while ago, got pulled from that. This is a good starting point for the Yakuza titles. Obviously, this is probably where you want to start. A prequel to Yakuza 1, and Yakuza 0 really gets the ball rolling on the story of one Kazuma Kiryu. Now, the RGG titles are definitely gaining a lot of buzz, a lot of interest. It seems like after their consecutive successes with games like Yakuza Like a Dragon, Judgment, Lost Judgment, and the general reception of those games, I feel like there's an outside audience that has taken interest into what RGG offers. But let's be real, with all of their outings, it's a daunting lineup of games to get into. Yakuza 0 is a great starting point. I often talk about Judgment being where I think a lot of people should start. That's because Judgment is a part of a series that only has 2 games, and Judgment in its own right tells a self-contained story. It's a game built for the PS4, and it has English voiceovers where Yakuza 0 does not have that. I know some of you guys are like, that's blasphemy, you would even say to play these games with English voiceovers, but it does make it more accessible to a different audience. But Yakuza 0 is still a really good starting point. Great story, great main character. Soundtrack is tremendous. So many over-the-top moments, and Yakuza does a great job of offering varied content. So while these games are content-filled, the thing is, there's a lot of different activities to do that offer a different style of play, which I think will keep the game engaging the whole way through. No matter, though, I would highly recommend you to not go from RGG game to RGG game back to back to back to back to back. Like, if you want to get into Yakuza, play Yakuza 0, maybe play Kiwami, take a break for a while, then go and play Kiwami 2, Kiwami 3. I'm sure there's some people that are absolutely insane that can go back to back to back to back, but if you go back to back, you're just gonna burn yourself out, in my opinion, and that'll probably make the franchise lose a little bit of luster for you. Like, play these games, but play them at a solid pace where you're not going through all the games at once, because that's just too difficult, in my opinion. But that's my 2 cents. Rant over. I know a lot of people are excited for Infinite Wealth. I know there's interest in people getting into the series. Just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. Next up, we have Titanfall 2, 80% off for $3.99, available with EA Play if you're going to sign up for that to play, I don't know, the Dead Space remake. That's a pretty good one. Wild Hearts is on there as well. Titanfall 2 is a great game. Unfortunately, EA kind of shot themselves in the foot for some reason by releasing this game right around the same time as Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. It was a few months after Overwatch 1, and whoever knows why, their own published Battlefield 1, like, figure that one out. But nonetheless, Titanfall 2 was a fantastic game. You guys know me. I love me some giant robots, and Titanfall 2 also added a campaign component that was a rather good campaign, and hopefully Respawn does more with Titanfall as a franchise. It seems like, you know, they're pretty busy with a lot of projects under their umbrella, but nonetheless, Titanfall 2 is quite good at this price point. Just from a single-player standpoint, I would say it's worth the $4. Next up, we got Rayman Legends, 80% off for $3.99. You guys know I talk about this game ad nauseum. If you're remotely a fan of platformers, this is a must-play. A franchise that Ubisoft, unfortunately, just does not do enough with. It is a great series, a great platformer, accessible, fantastic visual style that has just aged very gracefully as well. Like, when did Rayman Legends come out? I want to say it's been almost a decade. February of 2014. Man, we're coming up on a decade since Rayman Legends has come out. That's insane to think about, but a lot of great levels, and just a really, really well done platformer is available on Plus Extra. Next up, we got Resident Evil Revelations, 75% off for $4.99. Look, I talk ad nauseum about the Resident Evil titles. Usually it's the RE2 remake, RE4, of course, but Resident Evil Revelations is one of those games that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. It initially came out on the 3DS, and it was one of the selling points to me on the 3DS. I thought Revelations was awesome. That game on the 3DS, like, was very technically impressive. So when you're taking a 3DS game and you're porting it to the PlayStation 4, it's on PlayStation 3 as well, obviously you have to keep your expectations in line for what it is, but it is a nice visual bump up. It still looks pretty decent, and the game itself is a well done Resident Evil game. Revelations came out in the time where Resident Evil really doesn't have the IP appeal that it does now. Like, Resident Evil back when Revelations came out was in a different realm than what it is now. Capcom did a lot to restore a lot of the goodwill attached to Resident Evil. Not like it lost all of its goodwill, but man, after Biohazard Village and the remakes, they've done a fantastic job of revitalizing the series, so to speak. But Revelations is one that, again, gets lost in the shuffle. I still think it's a worthwhile game to play, and for $5, definitely a good buy. Next up, we got .hack GU Last Recode, 90% off for $4.99. You guys know me, if you've been following this channel, I love me some .hack, another franchise that CyberConnect 2, come on guys, bring it back, bring it back. .hack GU started on the PS2. Back in the day, it was released in these volumes that came out, which honestly was like, it was robbing people. It robbed me, I know that, because they would come out, I think, at $40 a pop, and you would have to buy these games, and they released within like 6 months, I want to say, from one another. But that's not the case with Last Recode. Last Recode compiles all 3 games, and you get a 4th smaller episode, and you get that for $4.99. Back in the day, guys, we spent $120 or something like that to play volumes 1 through 3, and now $4.99 for an enhanced version. I mean, that's kind of how things work, but still wild to think about. I think Haseo's a great main character with some really solid character development, and he's voiced by Yuri Lowenthal. Obviously, like, he voices like everybody. Peter Parker, of course, Sasuke from Naruto, and like, you just get total Sasuke vibes from Haseo as well. So, you know, good game and a solid cast of characters. Shows its age for sure, but if you're into JRPGs, a worthwhile collection to go through here. Next up, we got Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, 85% off for $4.49. Another game I talk incessantly about. Sleeping Dogs is awesome, guys. We'll probably never get a sequel to it, which is such a shame to think about, just because Sleeping Dogs is a great game, and I feel like the clamor is there. I'm not saying it's got like Dragon's Dogma into Dragon's Dogma 2 clamor, but I feel like people want a Sleeping Dogs 2, and it would do really well. Nonetheless, if you never played it, it's a great game. A lot of people say it's GTA in Hong Kong. It's not really that. It's got that crime aspect in an open world, but it's got more of a focus on its hand-to-hand combat and more of a contained open world as well. Good story, great main character. Definitive Edition gets you a lot of bonus content as well for $4.50. Great pickup here. Next up, we got Prototype, $4.49 on this, 85% off. Now, this game initially came out on the PlayStation 3 in June of 2009. Why do I make an emphasis on its release month? Well, it was a crazy time back in the early summer of 2009 when Prototype and Infamous were coming out. If you're around my age or a little bit older and you were online during that time, you guys know there was a big debate on what was gonna be the better superhero game. It was fun, like, seeing all of that dialogue back and forth. I think without a doubt Infamous ended up being the stronger game, but Prototype was pretty good as well. I thought Prototype did a really good job of just really embodying the chaos and the chaotic elements of being a superhero. It made you feel overpowered. Where Infamous, I don't want to say it was a little bit more grounded, but it wasn't as chaotic and hectic as Prototype. Visually, Prototype, that was one of the big deterring factors of the game. Just did not look great as a PS3 360 title. It's fine. Like, at this point, if you're playing the game, you're playing it for the over-the-top gameplay, and I think from that standpoint, it's worthwhile to go through. $4.49, pretty good buy, and actually kind of interested. Now that Microsoft has the ownership to this IP, I could easily see them dig up Prototype as an IP and do a Prototype 3. I actually think people would be pretty excited about that, and I think that would be a pretty interesting IP for Microsoft to lean on. I don't know if they're going to do that, just something I thought I'd throw out. Next up, want to give you guys a heads up on a couple of Need for Speed games. Let's just go through all of them. Need for Speed Rivals is $3, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered is $4, and then Need for Speed Heat Deluxe Edition is $3.49. That deal on Heat Deluxe Edition is really good. Hot Pursuit is a game that I loved back in 2010. This remastered release isn't anything to write home about, but, you know, it's a good game. And then Rivals I picked up on launch on the PS4, a little after launch, actually. I remember I wanted to get it at launch with the PS4, but it was, like, sold out for whatever reason, so your boy had to get stuck with Killzone Shadowfall and Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. And Knack, of course. Who could forget Knack? But, yeah, Need for Speed Rivals. I enjoyed Rivals as well for $3, not bad. I would say out of these three, Heat is probably the best one to get at $3.49, but you know, all of them for these price points are pretty good. Next up, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, 75% off for $4.99, is available on PlayStation Plus Extra. You guys know I talk about the Tomb Raider games since the reboot a lot. I think these games are fantastic. I will put them, since they get compared to Uncharted so much, I would say, like, the Tomb Raider games since the reboot are at the level of the Uncharted games, and maybe that's a stretch to some of you guys. I would say that overall Uncharted is probably a superior franchise, but I would put, like, ROTR on the level of Uncharted 2, but you know, let's not get into that debate right now. Tomb Raider 2013 is very much on the shorter side. You can complete it in around 7 to 8 hours if you focus primarily on the main story, but overall, still a worthwhile game to go through, and for $5, not a bad pickup. Definitely go play ROTR and SOTR afterwards, because those games are pretty good as well. Next up, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition, 75% off for $4.99. To me, this was one of the first truly great games of the PlayStation 4 generation. I know it was a cross-gen release. It actually came out on PS4 and then it had a delayed release on PS3 and 360. But nonetheless, to me, it was a next-gen title, and great visuals, action combat was great. A more contained open world comparatively to the open worlds these days. I'm not crazy about Lord of the Rings or anything like that, but yeah, enjoyed the game. Game of the Year Edition includes some bonus content, so that's quite good. Hotline Miami, the collection, 75% off for $4.99. Gets you Hotline Miami 1 and 2. Great pickup here. Hotline Miami is one of those games that's just over-the-top chaotic action, you know, throwback visual style, great soundtrack, just a good time overall, and for $4.99 to get both 1 and 2, think that's a pretty good buy. And lastly, I do want to give a shout to Gris, which is 75% off for $4.24. Now, this is a game that I feel like does not get enough love. It is a game that has a tremendous art style and really tackles some more somber themes, but this is one of those games that I attach to it being more of an experience rather than a game, and, you know, sometimes I think it's corny when people say, oh, gaming is an art form, this game is showcasing game in an art form, but you know what, yes, I thought that was corny, back in the day when I was, a teenager, but a lot of games are an art form, and Gris, I feel like, is one of the very shining examples of that, and yeah, for this price point, I think it's quite good. Great visual style, great presentation. $4.24 is a great buy for that. Just a little bit more of an emotional game, so keep that in mind. But that'll do it for me. Again, I feel like the holiday sale is stacked up and down with great deals, and you know, just filtering it to deals under $5, it was just pages and pages of really solid stuff. So we'll be covering all this stuff in depth, a lot to cover here. So yeah, be on the lookout for the channel with a lot of uploads as always. But that'll do it for me. Links to all of these deals in the description box below. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. How's it going, everyone? Our coverage of the PlayStation Store's holiday sale continues. We did deals under $5. We did deals under $10. The deals under $10 video seemed like you guys really enjoyed that. We gained a bunch of new subscribers, and the views on that video did incredibly well. So thank you, everyone, for that. Not gonna go on a diatribe, but I wanted to thank you guys for all of the support, especially over the last month and a half as we covered Black Friday as well, because it's much appreciated. I know sometimes these videos get a little redundant, but hopefully some of you guys find some enjoyment out of them as well, hearing me ramble about video games. But nonetheless, now we are looking at deals under $4. So this is some dirt cheap stuff. If you want some cheap video games, this is the route to go. And there are some deals that I wasn't intending on doing it. I mentioned some deals under $4 in the under 5 video. I'm just gonna reiterate those deals at the end of this video. We'll go through those very quickly, but yeah, we'll get to that at the end. But right off the top, let's start off with Prey, 90% off for $2.99. You know how I said the Mass Effect Legendary Edition deal for $5.99 was the best deal maybe of the year on the PlayStation Store? Brothers, Prey for $2.99 might be a close second place. I love this game back in 2017, and you guys know what is so depressing about it? The same team that did the awesome atmospheric first-person title in Prey did the little game called Redfall earlier this year. Why couldn't they have just done a follow-up to this title? Obviously, things that are above my pay grade and answers that I don't know. But $2.99 for Prey is just awesome, man. This is such a great game that did not get enough love. Back in 2017, I was calling this the most underrated game of the year. And you know what? This is one of the most underrated games of the entire PlayStation 4 generation. It is so great. The tone of the game is so well done. For $2.99, guys, Mass Effect Legendary Edition is Highway Robbery. This is Highway Robbery as well. Just a fantastic deal for $3. No brainer. Please go check it out. Next up, we got XCOM 2, 95% off for $2.99. Now, this is the base XCOM 2 game, so it's not the complete edition with War of the Chosen. However, for $2.99, this is still a damn good deal. Now, tactics titles isn't, my genre of choice, but XCOM Enemy Unknown really won me over, and XCOM 2 built upon that game. Now, XCOM 2 does have a litany of performance issues on PS4, and unfortunately, there's no real PS5 upgrade, which is always a bummer, but hey, it's still certainly playable, and very rewarding game can get very challenging, and even if you're not super into tactics titles, give XCOM a shot, because that was the case for me. Like, it really did win me over with Enemy Unknown, and XCOM 2 I thought was pretty damn good as well. So $3 for that, quite good. Hopefully we get another title, you know, like this soon. I know Firaxis is working on a bunch of other stuff, but yeah, good stuff with XCOM 2. Next up, we have Saints Row 4 Re-Elected, 80% off for $3.99. Look, it's Saints Row. I feel like this is a game that if you have a long day at work and you want a game that, like, really you can just mentally check out of, Saints Row is exactly that. Yes, is it stupid? Absolutely. Like, all the Saints Row games after Saints Row 3 and onwards, like, they're very stupid games, but like, the stupidity kind of makes it even more enjoyable. It's not GTA, but it's enjoyable in its own right, and Re-Elected's over-the-top gameplay, I think, is something a lot of people can enjoy. For $3.99, I think it's a pretty good buy, and definitely would check it out at that price point. Next up, Walking Dead, the complete first season, 75% off for $3.74. Definitely not as good as Walking Dead Destinies, but a pretty good game in its own. Obviously, I'm kidding. Walking Dead Destinies is one of the worst games of the year, quite possibly the worst game of the year. Walking Dead, the complete first season, is absolutely awesome, though. Telltale did a tremendous job with the entire franchise, and I would recommend, if you do want the Walking Dead series from Telltale, just get the complete collection. It's usually on sale for like $12.50 to $15. But if you just want to get into it, the first season is obviously a great starting point. You want to play these games sequentially, and a lot of people would say the first season is not only the height of the Walking Dead Telltale series, but also the height of Telltale as a developer. I often say I go 1A, 1B with Walking Dead first season, as well as Wolf Among Us. I think those two are the standouts from Telltale. Walking Dead Season 2 is really good as well, though, so give credit where that's due. But Walking Dead the first season tells such an emotional roller coaster of a story, and really, really just a great, emotional, engaging journey. Maybe a couple tears will be shed by the end, but yeah, just a great game. And I played this when it came out. I want to say it was back in 2012, and bear in mind, I was like 15 years old at this point, but your boy did shed a few tears throughout the complete first season, so take that for what you will. $3.74 is great, though, and definitely would check that out. Next up, we have Oxenfree, 70% off for $2.99. Now, we just came off of talking of Walking Dead. Oxenfree was actually a game done by Night School Studio, and that's a studio composed of a lot of developers that worked on various Telltale games. Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals just came out as well, but certainly go play the first one, and it's at $3. It's a great price. It's a game that I constantly go to bat for, and I've been going to bat for it for years and years at this point. I really enjoyed it, and it's a very, very good narrative-driven title. Kind of gets, you know, it definitely has its wackiness to it, but I thought the character interactions were really well done. The art style is pretty good. A little bit of a simplistic look, but I think it works for the context of the game, and $3 for Oxenfree I just think is a great deal. And Lost Signals is on sale, so if you played the first game, Lost Signals is like $10, which is actually a really, really good deal, so check that out as well. Next up, we have Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition, $3.74 on this. Guacamelee is a great Metroidvania, and what I'll say about it is I really like the comedic tone that Guacamelee offers, and the issue with, like, Metroidvania as a genre is a genre a lot of people are into, but there's a set specific amount of games that really stand head and shoulders as the elite in that category, and if you're anything below the elite, even if you're at a really high level, it is hard to resonate just because the competition in this market is so crazy that a game that I feel like is pretty quality filled in Guacamelee didn't resonate at the level of a lot of the other Metroidvanias. I wouldn't say, you know, drop full price on it, but $3.74, if you want an over-the-top comical Metroidvania, I think you'll get that with Guacamelee and you'll have a good time with it. Yeah, at this price point, I think it's pretty good. Next up, we got Strider, 80% off for $2.99. This was a early PlayStation 4 title and kind of like a reimagining of the original franchise. Now, I didn't grow up with Strider, a little bit before my time, but I did play Strider back in 2014 when it came out. It was actually a PlayStation Plus title way back when it came out in February of 2014. I think it was a Day 1 Plus title. And pretty sure I redeemed it and played it that way, but it was an enjoyable platforming action title. These games are like right up my alley. Like, platforming action games seem to be a genre that I can always get into, and for $2.99 I think this is quite good. Definitely has some old school elements to it, but enjoyable as well for this price point. Again, if you're into platforming action titles, I think Strider's gonna be one you enjoy. Next up, couple Super Giant Games titles. Bastion, 80% off for $2.99, no-brainer. Really one of those games that for me was a showcase emphasis on downloadable titles being able to be something of high quality, Bastion really exposed me to that, because if you remember, in the midst of the 360 PlayStation 3 generation, you saw that downloadable games were getting bigger and bigger, but a lot of them would be like, I remember playing like Geometry Wars, and it was fine as its own game, and I like Geometry Wars, but Bastion was the game that I was like, man, this is a really, really great game, and really put Supergiant on the map right off the bat, and has a great art style. The narration is awesome in this game. The gameplay, like, the combat is fine. I wouldn't say it's blow-away, but it's acceptable, and just overall a really, really well done game. Not super lengthy by any stretch of the imagination, but for $3, really good deal. And then Supergiant Games' follow-up title, Transistor. Obviously, these games aren't connected, but Transistor is 80% off for $3.99. Another game with an awesome aesthetic style, more of a sci-fi vibe to it. Just really good in terms of its presentation, story, and the gameplay is also rather interesting. So $3.99 for that's pretty good. I believe this was a Plus title as well when it initially came out. So yeah, obviously Supergiant at this point has exploded as a video game developer. Most known for Hades, working on Hades 2. Just congrats to them, because they've done a phenomenal job in really following their story from Bastion. It's heartwarming to see how much they have grown and expanded, so like, kudos to them. They've done a great job. But yeah, go back and play Bastion, play Transistor, they're quality titles. Next up, we got Cat Quest, 75% off for $3.24. I feel like Cat Quest is the kind of game, like, for the holiday season, it's pretty good. You know, if you're trying to get a younger sibling, a family member, a younger family member into video games, like, Cat Quest is a really easy one. Or if for yourself you're just looking for a game that's the polar opposite of, you know, some of the darker action-heavy games that you're playing, like, Cat Quest offers something that's a nice contrast to that. So for $3.24, it's an easy, accessible RPG. I would say give it a look. Next up, we got Far Lone Sales. It's 80% off for $2.99. Really cool, dark and drab aesthetic style in this post-apocalyptic game. It's light on, like, any action gameplay or anything like that. It's more about the exploration into this dark world, but it's a really, really cool setting, and it's a zombie-free post-apocalyptic world. That's actually an element that they highlight, which I find kind of fascinating. But nonetheless, at this price point, $2.99, a pretty good deal. And there was a follow-up title that was released to this as well, Far Changing Tides. Now, I believe that's on sale, but it's a little bit more expensive. Nonetheless, check that out. And finally, I do want to highlight a couple of deals I mentioned in our under $5 video real quickly. Hotline Miami, $2.49 on this. Hotline Miami is great, over-the-top action throwback, bloody as all hell, so definitely check it out. I mean, it's pixel blood, so really, like, you take it for what you will. Need for Speed Heat, 95% off for $3.49 for the deluxe edition. Fun arcade racer, great presentation, the setting's great. Soundtrack for Need for Speed is always going to be like a subjective taste kind of thing, but, you know, take it for what you will for this price point as an arcade racer. It's great. And then Rayman Legends is $3.99, which is a phenomenal deal for just an excellent platformer and a franchise that I think Ubisoft can do so much more with in terms of, you know, more titles, creating more Rayman content. And I know they do stuff here and there with Rayman as an IP. I believe they do stuff for, like, mobile and whatever, but I'm talking about, like, true platformers. And you see the success they had with Rayman Origins and Legends. Maybe these games just didn't crush it from a commercial standpoint, but for me, they're really well done platformers. And it's not like on PlayStation, it's like on Nintendo, where Nintendo, I feel like, is a haven for great platformers. On Sony's platforms, it's really not that. And really, outside of Nintendo platforms, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, I mean, there's a lot of good platformers, but I feel like there's market for more platformers like Rayman. But that's just my 2 cents. Maybe you guys disagree. What I know is for $4, Rayman Legends is a fantastic deal. So that's gonna do it for me. Again, guys, this is really scratching the surface. Like, if you actually look through this sale is stacked top to bottom. Like, some people are always gonna be disappointed, and I wasn't expecting AAA titles to get deeper discounts. That's like the one criticism that I see over and over again, that people are upset at games like Baldur's Gate 3, for example. 10% off discount, people are memeing on that. Jedi Survivor still being $35, etc, etc. But, you know, there's definitely something for you guys to pick up, and even with somebody like me that plays a lot of games, like, there's stuff that I haven't played, and I know that sometimes these videos get a little redundant with the same games, but, you know, it's one man, and, like, there's only so many games I've played. Yes, I do need to expand, like, the cheaper titles that I've played, but you gotta remember, I'm trying to keep up with new releases. I'm trying to play games that I personally want to play. Like, I just did another playthrough of Final Fantasy 13, and people are probably gonna be like, why the hell did you spend, like, 40 hours doing another playthrough of Final? Because I wanted to. I wanted to do another playthrough of Final Fantasy 13. I was in the mood, and And yeah, could I have spent that 40 hours playing some other stuff? I could have, but I also need to play games that are gonna satisfy my own mental sanity. But nonetheless, and me saying that playing Final Fantasy 13 satisfies my own mental sanity is probably a wild thing to a lot of you guys, but I was in the mood for a replay. Nonetheless, I'm rambling at this point. That's gonna do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
How's it going, everyone? Been doing a lot of coverage of the PlayStation Store's holiday sale, and this latest video is gonna be a video without a price restriction. We did deals under 20, deals under 10, under 5, under 4, but this is gonna be some more expensive titles, so obviously not gonna be for everyone in terms of, you know, some people don't like spending 30 to 40 bucks on a game, and I can totally understand that, but I still want to give you guys some of my recommendations. Now, before we get into this video, I just want to ask you guys, please like this video and do leave a comment with your thoughts. It really does help out the channel a lot, and it is much appreciated. So let's get right into it. First of all, we have Hogwarts Legacy, 50% off for $34.99. Honestly, did not think Hogwarts Legacy was gonna go on sale with this deep of a discount this year when the game was leading up to its release, just because I was like, yo, this game is gonna crush it from a sales standpoint, which it did, and I was just like, yo, WB is gonna see, yo, people are gonna buy this during the holidays, why even put it on sale? But I guess the other argument could be so many people have already bought the game and it came out all the way back in February that why not jolt up its sales even more with a sizable discount, and you do have that here with 50% off for 35 bucks. I thought Hogwarts Legacy was a really good game. I didn't put it in my mix for Game of the Year, but it's at that tier right below Game of the Year, or maybe a tier below that, like tier 2, tier 3 in terms of my favorite games of the year. Thought it was really good from a gameplay standpoint, thought the magical combat was really well done. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, so it's like if you're a Harry Potter fan, you'll probably like this game a lot more than I did. But even I did really like the game, and I thought it was really well done. 35 bucks is great. I'm sure they're gonna do a sequel because guess what? These companies like to print money, and Hogwarts Legacy 2 would print money, so I do expect that to happen at some point. Next up, we have Street Fighter 6, 34% off for $39.59. A game that, in my opinion, should have been in the mix for Game of the Year awards. I guess fighting games just generally don't get a lot of Game of the Year nominees. I know it was voted Best Fighting Game or whatever, but that was a shoo-in. Like, this is definitely a great game, and I'm not a big fighting game fan, but this is one that I really enjoyed. It's got a really solid single-player component. Like, people usually meme on fighting games as far as single-player goes. Street Fighter 6 had a really solid one. Presentation is great. Game is slick as all hell. Soundtrack is awesome. Like, the character select theme is fantastic. Just, the game is really well designed, and if me, a schmuck to fighting games these days, could get into it, I think a lot of people that aren't into fighting games can also get into it. $39.59, great price on that. Next up, another Capcom outing, Resident Evil 4 Remake is 50% off for 30 bucks. RE4 Remake is in my mix for Game of the Year. Like, Capcom just crushed it this year, but Resident Evil 4, it takes one of the greatest games of all time, the GameCube, PS2, Nintendo Wii, Resident Evil 4, takes that 2004-2005 game, remakes it in 2023, and you know what you got? You got one of the best games of all time once again. That's just what Resident Evil 4 is. I thought this remake was absolutely awesome. They do change some things, but overall, it is a great remake and really well done. Resident Evil is never going to be a super lengthy game, but it's always somewhat replayable, and I think you can get multiple playthroughs out of this, especially if you're trying to get the Platinum Trophy. PlayStation VR 2 headset support got added as well, so if you do want to go through it that way, that is an option, and 30 bucks for RE4 is just great. Separate Ways did drop. That's $10, separate purchase, not on sale right now, and that offers a decent bit of gameplay, and I would recommend it. Next up, we got Cyberpunk 2077, 40% off for $29.99, a game that obviously has gotten considerably better, and the narrative and the reception towards the game has just completely shifted. Cyberpunk 2077 is a legitimate, really good RPG, and I didn't even hate it as much as most people back when it came out in December of 2020. Did I think it was the best game of all time? No. Did I think it lived up to expectations? Absolutely not. But the rhetoric and some of the dialogue I just heard people say about Cyberpunk 2077, like, it was hyperbole to the max. And look, sometimes we're prisoners of the moment, and I get it, like, hyperbole is fun, and saying crazy things is fun, and I certainly do it from time to time, but you know, I remember getting text messages when Cyberpunk came out of people saying it's legitimately the worst game ever created. We live in a world where Rogue Warrior exists, guys. Like, Cyberpunk 2077, even at launch, wasn't the worst game of all time. Sure, the performance on PS4 and Xbox One was absolutely abysmal and absolutely atrocious, and that was not defendable whatsoever, but you know, the game has gotten considerably better, and at this point you're paying a half of the initial price point at 30 bucks instead of 60. I think it's a really good buy, and if you do want to get the Ultimate Edition, that includes the Phantom Liberty. You can check that out as well, and that's obviously a really well-received expansion, so that's something to check out on top of that. Next up, we got Elden Ring, 40% off for 36 bucks. Some talk about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree potentially coming out in February. I think that is so crazy given that February is so stacked with game releases, but throw in Elden Ring DLC on top of that, why don't you? Elden Ring itself is one of the most iconic video games legitimately of all time. I do know, and I remember this happening multiple times with multiple of my friends, that back in February of 2022 when Elden Ring came out, there was so much hype and so much buzz around the game that Elden Ring kind of broke through into the cultural zeitgeist, so to speak, in that a lot of casuals who don't even know what a Souls-like is heard about Elden Ring and then checked out the game. I had one friend in particular go into the game thinking that it was going to be something like Skyrim, and then, yeah, obviously Elden Ring is nothing like Skyrim, but that was going to be an issue where a lot of newbies did check out the game and unfortunately didn't resonate with them. But Elden Ring is such a well-designed game, and I think even from somebody like me who isn't crazy about Souls-likes, I thought the world design in this game was just remarkable, and from an aesthetic sound design standpoint, like the presentation and the world design of this game was so strong. From that standpoint alone, that could grip me into the game. And obviously you have some really ridiculous boss fights, and it's challenging as ever. I know some people just blitz through these Souls titles like they're nothing these days, and I know it's more of a get good kind of thing, and I'll just never be good at these games. And yo, my issue is, like, I do these boss fights and I swear, like, obviously you're supposed to change up your tactics and change up what you do, but I'm just stubborn as all hell, and I just keep trying the same things and hoping it'll eventually work. And sometimes, like, bosses took me 2 to 3 hours in this game to complete, and 2 to 3 hours for one boss probably isn't anything that crazy, but, like, yo, 2 to 3 hours for me putting it in to beat a boss in Elden Ring, that was insane. And it's not my cup of tea, but you know, maybe I just gotta get good. That is definitely an opinion to be had. Next up, we got Star Wars Jedi Survivor. You guys already knew this was coming if you were following this channel. 50% off for $34.99. They just refined the performance mode as well, and runs a lot better. Guys, I love Jedi Survivor. I think this game is awesome, and it might be my game of the year for 2023. Based on how I constantly talk about it, like, I don't want to stamp out one game as my definitive game of the year when you have a year with, like, Jedi Survivor, Final Fantasy 16, and Resident Evil 4. Like, those are my top 3 probably. But Jedi Survivor I thought was fantastic. I thought it was an improvement upon Jedi Fallen Order in every way. I thought the world opened up with a lot more content. The story I thought was better. I know some people liked Fallen Order better, but I thought the second half of Jedi Survivor was fantastic. And yeah, just really enjoyed the game. They fixed up the map as well, which really did make me enjoy the game a lot more. I just love Jedi Survivor. Thought it was great. Obviously, play Fallen Order first, but Survivor for 35 bucks is a great pickup. Next up, Dead Space Remake, 60% off at $28. A fantastic remake. Kind of got overshadowed by another horror game getting a remake in Resident Evil 4 just a month and a half later, and Resident Evil 4 is the better game. But Dead Space totally outshined Callisto Protocol, so, you know, what comes around goes around. Dead Space Remake turned out really well. Motive Studios did a good job with it. I hope they do more with Dead Space as an IP because there's a lot of potential with it going forward. And $28 for this, maybe it's still seen as a little bit too expensive, but you know, I think it's worth it, and it is available in EA Play, so if you do want to play it that way, that is an option as well. Next up, we got No Man's Sky, 50% off for $29.99. No Man's Sky isn't my style of game, but I can appreciate what Hello Games has offered in terms of dropping something in 2016 that was pretty underwhelming and pretty disappointing, and over the course of the last 7.5 years, they have continuously updated the game, continually made it better, and continue to do so without actually charging the player for it. And No Man's Sky, what we paid $60 for back in 2016, it's a far cry. It is long gone, and what you're getting now is a much better experience. Survival games still aren't my cup of tea, and they never will be, but I can appreciate what Hello Games has offered and what they've done in terms of redeeming themselves, and they've absolutely done that with No Man's Sky. And if you buy it for $30 now, you're just going to get an experience that's going to evolve over time and get better and better, so certainly worth a pickup there. Next up, we have One Piece Odyssey, 60% off for $24. Loved One Piece Odyssey earlier this year. I don't even really know why I was so, like, adamant in playing it. You know what? I will tell you why, because they had a good release date for this game. I want to say it was, like, early January 6th.
6th or January 13th, right around that range, coming right off the holidays and before the wave of big releases that tend to happen in the beginning of the year. So Odyssey came out in this time where there weren't a ton of big games around it, and I was just like, yo, let me check out Odyssey. Ended up really enjoying it, and you guys know I don't care about One Piece. Ain't no way in hell you're gonna sit me down and get me to watch 1,000 episodes. Look, I like that Gaio theme song or whatever from the 4Kid days or whatever it was, but you ain't getting me to watch 1,000 episodes of One Piece. It ain't happening. But as a turn-based JRPG, One Piece Odyssey is a damn good game and mechanically well done, and if you're a One Piece fan, you'll enjoy it even more than I did, since the whole shtick of the game is you go back and revisit these iconic One Piece areas, and, you know, I'm guessing arcs of the anime, and you go and fight iconic enemies. But really done well, well done JRPG. 24 bucks I think is a great price, and it's a legitimately lengthy JRPG. It's like a 40-hour game. Hopefully they do something like this with Naruto, because I think it would be awesome. I mean, I keep wanting, like, outside of the Naruto Storm games from Bandai Namco, to invest in doing like a Naruto-style game as far as similar to DBZ Kakarot, or a Naruto-style game in One Piece Odyssey. Either way, I would like it. I know Naruto Path of the Ninja came out on the DS, but like, yo, if we could get a Path of the Ninja for like a modern audience for PS5 and Xbox Series and PC, yo, all day long, take my 70 bucks. But for now, I got One Piece Odyssey, and I guess I'll have to stick with it. Next up, want to give a shout out to Immortals of Aveum, 60% off for $28. Now, I've been pretty vocal about this game and my opinions on it. It does have a free trial available, which I would recommend you to try that out. And also keep in mind that this is an EA published game. It will eventually end up in EA Access, as will Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Dead Space Remake already in there, Wild Hearts already in there, to name a few. Immortals of Aveum is a game that I liked a lot of elements of. I thought the visuals were really good. I thought the gameplay was awesome. You know, it's fast-paced, it's magical combat. I thought it was well done. I thought the platforming was really good. Soundtrack's pretty good. The issue with Immortals of Aveum lies within its story. It's awful. The characters are awful. The voice acting's awful, and it's legitimately deterring to the game and hinders the game. I think that $70 price tag initially hurt it as well. If you took Immortals of Aveum and you stripped away all of the story focus, all of the character focus, and you just took the gameplay, the platforming, the set design, the level design and everything like that, and made that the game, I think it would have seen a far different reception, and it probably would have cut the budget of the game quite a bit. It could have been like $40, and I think people would have loved it, but that's obviously hindsight being 2020, but you know, it is what it is. At 28 bucks, I think it's a pretty good price. Once this gets down like under 20 and really at that 15 range, I'm gonna say slam dunk, pick it up all day long, but at 28, I still think it's a decent pickup, and I wanted to give it a shout. Next up, we got Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle, 50% off for $29.99. Attack on Titan just wrapped up. The anime series is over. I started watching AOT back in 2013 when the first season was airing, and it was one of those anime that really clicked with me, and I was super into it. Like, watched all of season 1. The ending of season 1 just blew me away, and then, you know, reading the manga, following the manga for a while. Attack on Titan, for me, very much a special place. Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle is also a pretty good game. I wouldn't recommend it to non-fans, but it does the Attack on Titan style pretty well in a video game, which you would think would be kind of difficult. You know, the maneuver gear and everything like that, but they do a pretty good job with it. It would be great if they could have done something with Hiroyuki Sawano, who is the composer of AOT, to get that soundtrack of Attack on Titan on Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle, because I really think if they got the AOT soundtrack into the game, it would have been next level. It would have made a lot more people check it out, but we can't have nice things, as I often say, so it is what it is. And lastly, we got Kingdom Hearts All-in-One package, 60% off for $39.99. This is finally coming down in price. It was settling in at 60 bucks for a while after being 30 for a long time. Then it shot up. Now it's going back down. This runs the gamut of Kingdom Hearts content. Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, 2.8, and Kingdom Hearts 3. The only thing you're missing is the Remind DLC, but that's not that big of a deal. Kingdom Hearts 3 as a whole, I'm not a big fan of, but it's still worthwhile to play through. Obviously, play the game sequentially. Kingdom Hearts 1 absolutely shows its age, but a worthwhile playthrough in that. And Kingdom Hearts 2, in my opinion, is just fantastic. And you do get other stuff. Raid Chain of Memories is in there. Birth by Sleep is in there. Dream Drop Distance is in there. It's a lot of content. A bunch of cutscenes from other games. It is an absurd amount of stuff that you're getting for your $40. So yes, while it is one of the most expensive titles in this list, list, on this list, and, you know, I believe the most expensive, actually, because Street Fighter 6 is $39.59. For all the content you're getting, I do think it's worth it. But that is going to do it for me. Again, a lot of great stuff under the price of $20 right now. Check it out. Links in the description box below. But that is going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thank you for watching, and goodbye. How is it going, everyone? And boy, oh boy, we got the holiday sale live right now, and this holiday sale is absolutely enormous. Now, there's north of 4,600 deals that are available. I have it filtered out to just full games, game bundles, premium edition, so we can eliminate some of the repetitive DLCs and things like that, but there's a ton of deals available. If past is prologue and they handle the holiday sale like they did in the past, this is wave 1 of the sale, and there should be another cycling in of deals 2 weeks from now. I believe that's how they did it in previous years, but there's already a behemoth, a colossal amount of titles to go over, so let's get right into it. Right off the top, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. I know you guys have been looking forward to getting that discounted, $49. As much as I am sarcastic and I joke about that, let's be real, guys. Come December 25th, come Christmas Day, when everybody's opening up their gifts and a lot of people get PlayStation 5s or Xbox Series, they go on those respective stores, they see MW3 is on sale. That game is selling more than all of these games. I truly do believe that. Maybe one of these titles will sell a little bit more than MW3, but man, they're gonna make a disgusting amount of money off that game come Christmas Day. Mortal Kombat 1 is 40% off for $42, which is pretty decent. Obviously, the deal with fighting games these days is that they have a ton of DLC content, so, you know, it is what it is there. Madden 24, $28. Yo, Madden 24 is going to sell really well on Christmas Day as well. NBA 2K24 on sale. Diablo 4 is $42, that's 40% off. Hogwarts Legacy, the other game that I think is going to do very, very well Christmas Day, $35 for the PS5 version, $30 for the PS4 version. I thought Hogwarts Legacy was great, and I have no care in the world for Harry Potter whatsoever, but I thought the magical combat was great. Thought the open world was fun to explore. Visuals were nice. Story didn't do it for me, but, you know, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you'll probably like it more than me. GTA 5 Premium Edition, $15. That did just get added to PlayStation Plus Extra if you do want to play it that way, but, yeah, $15 for GTA 5. I think it's quite good. That is the PS4 version of the game. Final Fantasy 16, $42. If you have, like, if you guys are watching our content, chances are you've picked up FF16 at this point, but if you got friends getting a PlayStation 5 or you're trying to get somebody to get some quality games over the holidays, you know, give them a recommendation on Final Fantasy 16. I have a buddy that Final Fantasy 16 was his first Final Fantasy game ever, and that's because I was badgering him about it, and it was promoted all over the PlayStation Store. He checked it out, and he is a super casual, super into Western games, but he loved Final Fantasy 16. He bought the DLC. He's doing another playthrough of it right now. It is a game that's very accessible to newcomers of FF as a whole. Is it perfect? No. The side content is pretty average, and some of the story decisions, I think, will be off-putting to people, but I still thought the game was tremendous. Definitely check it out. Alan Wake 2, 20% off for $48. Nice to see a discount on that. I wasn't as crazy about it as a lot of other people. I understand why people really like it. That did just get a New Game Plus update as well, so you can check that out. $48 for that is great. And by the way, FF16 does have the DLC. DLC just dropped. Another piece of DLC is coming spring of next year. God of War Ragnarok, another game that's a must-play. 43% off for $39.89. Also got free DLC that just dropped in Valhalla, and Valhalla is being received incredibly, incredibly well. And you know, that's a piece of DLC that, from everybody that I've talked to, it seems like unanimous in agreement that they could have charged $10 to $20 for Valhalla, and they would have been completely accepting of that. If you have yet to play God of War 2018 for whatever reason, obviously go play that, but sub $40 for Ragnarok, pretty decent deal there. Assassin's Creed Mirage is $35, which is a Ubisoft game that's been holding up in price a little bit more than others, given the fact that it's not a monetizable Ubisoft game, at least not monetizable to the extent of some other Assassin's Creed titles, but $35 for that is decent. It's obviously a shorter Assassin's Creed title. Originally was slated to be a Valhalla expansion, and it kind of got, you know, spinned into its own game at a cheaper price point of $50 instead of $60 or $70, but $35 for that, not bad. Crew Motorfest, 50% off for $35. PS4 version is $30. They're running free trials for that all the time, so you know, if you do want to try the game out, I'm sure there will be an opportunity to do so at some point. They're shutting down the Crew 1 for what it is. And by the way, a free trial is live right now for Crew Motorfest, actually. So go check that out if you're interested. Red Dead Redemption 2, 1979, tremendous game. You guys already know how I feel about that. Just go play it. Street Fighter 6, 34% off for $39.59. A game that I truly believe should have been in the mix for Game of the Year. I get it, it's a fighting game, and like fighting games typically don't get nominated for Game of the Year, but I thought Street Fighter 6 was fantastic. And you're talking to somebody that's not crazy into fighting games, but I thought the presentation, soundtrack, visuals, single-player components of Street Fighter 6 was great. I think for $39.59, that's a great deal that I would recommend. Cyberpunk 2077 is 40% off for $29.99. Obviously, after the release of 2.0, Phantom Liberty, everything like that, Cyberpunk 2077 is seeing a much different reception than it initially did. The Ultimate Edition is down to $53.24, so, you know, almost $7 off, getting Phantom Liberty as well. You know, Phantom Liberty is a sizable expansion to Cyberpunk 2077. If you want to play the base game, $30 is okay. Like, you can find physical copies of Cyberpunk for $20, so just keep that in mind. And if you are a Plus Premium subscriber, it does have a pretty substantial 5-hour game trial, so take that for what it's worth. UFC 5, 40% off for $42. Decent deal there, given it just came out. Resident Evil 4, $30. Game that, once again, in the mix for my favorite games of the year. I thought it was a tremendous remake. Certainly would give that a recommendation. WWE 2K23, the digital edition is $23.09. That's the cross-gen edition. Lies of P, 20% off. Not a sizable discount there, $48. But for a lot of people, I'm surprised how many, like, people, and not obviously it wasn't nominated for the Video Game Awards, but a lot of people are talking about how Lies of P is one of their favorite games of the year, or even their game of the year, so good for that game, you know, all things considered, especially with Souls-likes. Like, it's hard to resonate at a high level with Souls-likes with From Software titles, but Lies of P has done exactly that. Elden Ring, sizable discount on this. How about that? 40% off for $36. Yes, at this point, it's nearly 2 years old, but $36 for that is really great. I've been hearing rumblings of Shadow of Erdtree actually coming out in February, and if it comes out in February, can we just, like, stop? Can we just stop this with how many games are coming out in Q1? Please, for the love of God, put Shadow of Erdtree in April or May. Like, that Q1 is just disgusting. But yeah, $36 for Elden Ring is really good. Even if you're not a huge Souls fan, I feel like that game from a world design standpoint is so strong that you can still enjoy it, so $36 for that. GTA 5 is $19.99 for PS5. Again, just got added to Plus Extra, so you can play it that way. Baldur's Gate 3, 10% off for $63. The consensus game of the year. It is revered by people. I've talked about it. I played it. Not my cup of tea, but I understand why people like it. Look, this year was kind of interesting for me. Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake 2 were two games that are, you know, consensus game of the year contenders, and for me, I just couldn't get into them. But that's my subjective opinion, and sometimes I have to remove my subjectivity out of it and understand that, you know, it's easy to see why people like Baldur's Gate 3. It's easy to see why people like Alan Wake 2. And Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that I am certainly going to give another shot to. But, yeah, not a sizable discount here, but 10% off for $63. It does have a Plus Premium trial, which I feel like is new. Only 2 hours. That's going to barely get you anything, so, you know, take that for what it's worth. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, 50% off for $35. I know most people don't agree in having Jedi Survivor in the mix for their game of the year, but it is certainly in there for mine. Loved this game. Yes, it had a litany of performance issues, and you're talking to somebody that played this game on PC. Absolute train wreck on there, but thanks to EA for providing me a copy of the game. Had a great time with it, even with the performance issues. I did a second playthrough of it right after the first, and just loved the story of the game. And I know some people were like mixed on the story of Jedi Survivor. I thought the second half of it was incredibly strong, and yeah, really liked it. Expanded the world a lot from Jedi Fallen Order, and if you have yet to play Fallen Order, certainly play that. There's a little recap in Jedi Survivor, but play Fallen Order, even with the atrocious map in Fallen Order. It's a worthwhile playthrough. COD MW2 is $35 for whatever reason if you're trying to pick that up. Remnant 2 for $30. Remnant 2 Ultimate Edition for $42. Remnant 2 just got DLC, so that is notable. Lords of the Fallen is $49. Alan Wake 2 Deluxe Edition is $64. Remember, that does include the DLC content, which is coming. That's story-based DLC, so kind of important there if you do want to check that out. Dead Island 2 is $42. Pricey on that. Red Dead Redemption is $40. Yes, it got the 60 FPS upgrade, but $40 for for RDR1 is still kind of high. Even with 60 FPS, like, it's not what an HD remaster should be. And I know they didn't promote it as an HD remaster. They were pretty upfront about calling it just Red Dead Redemption, not an HD remaster or anything like that. It does include Undead Nightmare, which is a good expansion to Red Dead, but yeah, 40 bucks is still kind of pricey. Last of Us Part 1, $39.89 on that. I thought $70 was crazy back in September of 2022. I think $40, 15 months later, is still pretty damn high. I love Last of Us Part 1. Let's not get it twisted. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Did another playthrough of the game this year, and I love it. It's a fantastic game, but, you know, I still have to remove my love and assess it from a value standpoint, and given that this is a game that initially came out in 2013, unless you're like me and this is one of your favorite games of all time and you're really wanting to do a playthrough, or you've just heard rave reviews about it, maybe you watch the TV series, whatever the deal is, obviously from a quality standpoint, it's worth the $39.89, but it's just like, man, a decade old, and it's a relatively short game. Yeah, it does have some replayability, but nonetheless, Part 2 remastered, obviously out next month. Horizon Forbidden West, $19.99 on PS4, does have that upgrade to PS5 available. It's on Plus Extra as well if you do want to play it that way. Gotham Knights for 14 bucks is actually pretty decent. It is available on Plus Extra, but that's a good price. Assassin's Creed Valhalla for $15. I've been vocal about the fact that I don't like the newer style Assassin's Creed games, but Valhalla's Viking setting, that's something up my alley, and I still had fun with it. There is the Complete Edition for $35, which includes all the DLC, the Dawn of the Ragnarok expansion, like a lot of stuff there. So that's something to check out for $35. Typically goes for $140, so yeah. No Man's Sky, 50% off for $30. Look, if you want to pick up a game that is going to give you kind of an investment in the fact that it's going to continually get better. I know Hello Games is working on a new title, Let There Be No Light, or something like that. I keep forgetting the name of it, but nonetheless, they're still going to be updating No Man's Sky, so 30 bucks on that. Rust Console Edition is 30. Payday 3 is 30. Need for Speed Unbound, $10.49 on that? That's pretty decent. That came out December of last year, a year later, and it's $10 and change. Not a bad racing game. So yeah, that's a decent price. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, 70% off for $18. Look, that's a game I feel like anybody can get into. Lego games are always a good time. I'm not a crazy Star Wars fan, even though Jedi Survivor is one of my favorite games of the year. Not big into Star Wars in the sense of watching all the content and everything like that, but had fun with Skywalker Saga, a good bit of content there. The Galactic Edition with the DLC is 24 bucks. Sekiro still holding up in price at 30 bucks, man. That's always going to be pretty expensive. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is $12. Premium, I should say Complete Edition is $15, includes both expansions. That is the route to go. You're paying $3 extra for 2 sizable expansions. One of the best single-player games ever created. 8 years, almost 9 years removed from the release of The Witcher 3. I still believe that. That game is phenomenal. Can't wait to see where CDPR goes with Witcher in the future. We got the Witcher 1 remake that's in the works. We got, you know, it's not called Witcher 4, but the next line of Witcher titles. Witcher's gonna be here to stay for a long time, even if Geralt's story arc is over for now, and we'll see how long that lasts. I feel like Geralt at this point has that kind of appeal like Kratos, where you don't want to remove Geralt, and that's why I feel like the Witcher 1 remake is also happening, but nonetheless, let's not get into a diatribe about that right now. Black Ops Cold War for the 3 people that want to buy that in 2023. That game actually has a decent campaign, to be fair. Borderlands 3 for $9. Hey, that's a pretty decent deal for that. Dead Space Remake, $28. Yes, it's available on EA Play, the subscription service, but if you want a copy of Dead Space Remake in your library, man, that's a great deal. A phenomenal remake there. Kinda got its wind taken out by Resident Evil 4 that came out just like a month and a half later, but hey, we can give credit to 2 great horror game remakes. And hey, Dead Space took the wind underneath the sails of Callisto Protocol a month prior. So, you know, it goes around. What comes around goes around, so to speak. Marvel's Midnight Suns is $21. Does have a premium trial. Sea of Stars, $24.49, 30% off on that. That is available on Plus Extra. Sifu, sizable discount on this, 65% off for $14. Really good deal there. Definitely would give that a shout. Challenging game, but worthwhile. GTA, the trilogy, is $30, so, you know, you can play it that way. It is included with GTA Plus, so subscribe to GTA Plus to download that game if you do want it that way. Stray is 34% off for $19.79. Great game, and it seems like, you know, people love cats these days, so, you know, doing a quality game with a cat main character, hey, that worked out pretty well. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, 20% off for $48. Gotta get a deeper discount on that. They do sell the games separately, and they do note MGS3 is 20% off for $16. MGS3 is awesome. Can't wait for the remake. Dying Light 2, what is the price point of this? It's still $30, man. Can we get that down to $20? I liked Dying Light 2 back in February of last year, but You know, 30 bucks is just a little high for my liking for, you know, being almost 2 years old. It's gonna be 2 years come February, and I get it, Elden Ring came out around the same time, and that's 36, and I'm talking about that being such a great deal, but we're talking games at different paradigms, you know? Elden Ring is quite at a higher level than Dying Light, I'm sorry to say. Battlefield 2042 is at 14 bucks, been getting a ton of updates, seems like people have been enjoying it a lot more. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, 25% off. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, $42 for the Digital Deluxe. The Digital Deluxe is meme. Just, do we have the base game on sale? We don't have the base game on sale, but that's easily something I could see getting added to being on sale come the second wave of deals when that rotates in. And also keep in mind that Square Enix has a really strong relationship with Sony. Could easily see that coming to PlayStation Plus Extra, and I think it would be a really, really good idea, Sony. I'll give you guys this idea. How about you add that to Plus Extra right before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out? You can add it in January. It would be a nice addition. It would get people a little familiar with Zack, who's going to be an integral character. I'm just saying, the free idea is there. I'm sure that's been bannered about in the meetings rooms or wherever they go to decide these things. One Piece Odyssey is 24 bucks. I've been vocal about how much that game surprised me. I thought it was really, really good. So that's a great deal. A good turn-based JRPG. And again, I have no care in the world for One Piece, but I thought that was a pretty good game. FF7 Remake Intergrade. If you want to pick up FF7 Remake, it's on Plus Extra, and if you do buy Rebirth, you get it for free. So, you know, I get it, Rebirth is a $70 purchase, so might not be ideal, but like the fact you get it for free and Rebirth should be fantastic, so take that for what you will. Mafia Trilogy, 67% off for $19.79. Monster Hunter World Iceborne Master Edition, 50% off for $19.99. That's a pretty good deal, and World itself is $9.99. Great deal there, of course. Crash 4, sub 20 bucks, $19.79. Not bad there. Forspoken, still way too expensive at 38 bucks. Let's get that down to 10 to 15. Let's get that added to Plus Extra, and maybe people will have a better opinion on it. AC Odyssey, 12 bucks. AC Odyssey Ultimate Edition is 24. That does include AC3 Remastered, so that's pretty decent. Raccoon City Edition, which is RE2 and 3, 15 bucks. Demon Souls Remake at $29.39. And yeah, we're running pretty long here. That's page 7 of a lot of pages, of 141 pages. So this is going to be a one that takes me a while to break down. But as I continue, Immortals of Aveum is 60% off for $28. I have yet to mention it in a video. That game's got a really good free trial available. So try out the free trial, and 28 bucks is a good deal on it. That's at that price point where I think I would start recommending it. $70 was just way too much, but at 28, I actually think it's pretty damn good. And there's the things that I really liked about that game, like the gameplay, the platforming. I thought it was good. The story is terrible. Characters are terrible. Voice acting's awful. Like, those elements really hindered the game, and you know, probably increased the budget quite a lot. But it is what it is when it comes to things like that. But that'll do it for me. Again, we got to page 7 of 141. This is gonna take a while for me to break down, but you guys know how it is. Kind of talk a lot about some of these titles, but we'll do the full breakdowns, under 5, under 10. You guys know what to expect. The compilation probably coming sometime this weekend as we get these deals rolled out. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.